Hey, what's up, everybody? It's my Thursday subscriber stream here on lichess.org. Someone unsound just arrived. We've got a Pikachu from Astrobate. Bob is in the house. Dragon BC, I just saw a moment ago. I'd like to thank you guys, including Dragon BC, Anita, Jim, Dragon BC leading the way in terms of bit donations this week. Thank you so much, guys. Good to see someone on sound, Astrobate, and Bob. Glad you're back, Bob. We've got game analysis on tap for today. By the way, happy 4th of July if you live in the United States, like I do at the moment. Many of you know me from being in Hungary, but for the summertime, for this next couple of months at least, I'm going to be streaming from the USA. So I'm not a flag waver, but I do celebrate the 4th of July here. At least we're going to go see some fireworks tonight. So I will be, beginning and ending the stream a little earlier than I normally do. So we're going to start right now and go until about 7:30, 7:45, in that range with the stream. Okay, guys, that's Eastern time. It's good to see everybody. Let's get started. We've got game analysis submissions from not that many players this week, unless I've missed somebody. Let me know if I missed one of you guys. I've got Mule Skinner, Astrobate, Save a Dog, Jim, Dragon B, I Take Back, and Bob Saka. Fuchsia, what's up? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 submissions so far. Anita, hola. ¿Cómo estás? What's up? All right, guys, we do Hungarian. Spanish is a little tough for me. I just found Snap, these little Snap firework toys for my son. That'll be a good gift for Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving. It's 4th of July. Forgot to give it to him. I'm not gonna give it to him before the stream is over though. All right, mis amigos. Infinite Flash Chess is in, and Anita will be back in time to eat. Anita, if you want to submit a game, let us know. If anybody has not submitted a game but intends to, the list is not complete yet. We've got 7 submissions for game analysis that I can see so far. Los Hungarians. Es los tacos. Los locos. No Hungarians watching my stream lately. It's too late for those guys. We had quite a few players for a while, 3 or 4 players from Hungary when I was living over there, but now with the time change, we got mostly, they've all bailed on me. Okay, Mule Skinner's supposed to be first here. He was the first one. I don't think he's in the house though. He's probably, let's put Mule Skinner on hold actually, because some people are going to think that I'm starting at 5:30. I think that's what's going to happen. I did mention yesterday that I was starting early. Let's wait with Mule Skinner because he'll probably show up in like 20 minutes and do his game, try to do his game while he's here. So let's see if we can... Bob, Astrobate, we can see your messages. Very, very private, secret stuff, Bob. Alright. Top secret information. I always expose all my most damaging emails on my stream. My most damning messages. Okay, so love letters and such. Alright. I didn't let them see your love letters, Bob. Don't worry. So we're going to do Astrobate, I guess, Astrobate first. We'll save Mule Skinner till 5:30. He'll probably show up. If not, not. So Astrobate 1 hour ago, that's the wrong thing. Yeah. That's the wrong thing. Where's Astrobate's submission, actually? I like how I get a message that says it's from 21 minutes ago, but it just popped up. Like, how is that possible? I've been online. Like, how would it have been from 21 minutes ago? Alright. Where is Astrobate's game? Dude, here it is? No. Dude, where did it go? Here. 1 hour ago? It's deceptive, This, for example, here. It was submitted to me 45 hours ago. And then on the list, it's like 1 hour ago, which totally confused me. I thought this was not from 45 hours ago because on the list it says 1 hour ago. Because he put I'm black, by the way, 1 hour ago. Alright, that's deceptive. Anyway, EHW, brought to you by Asterbait. So Asterbait is black, by the way. Let's check it out. Okay, guys, happy 4th of July, wherever you are. E4, B6, Owen's defense, or Owen defense, I should say. Not Owen's defense, but Owen. The Reverend John Owen. Probably a relative of mine. Now that I'm thinking about it, I had relatives named Owen. That's really weird. Very common name, though. My computer, it does that. The phone restarts itself every time at the same time. Juicebox, what's up? Yeah, no, we were talking in the messages, Bob, about something about like the troll the other day. I don't remember what it was about. Don't be paranoid, Bob. We don't talk about you behind your back. Okay, E4, B6, Knight F3, Bishop B7. Knight F3 is already like slightly limiting for white, limiting his options. So I think the better way to play this for white is D4. Fish Rat Cow, thanks to my educational chess stream. The more accurate way to do it is D4. There's no reason to commit so early to Knight F3. That's going to like reduce white's options, I think. Knight F3, it's still a decent move. In fact, like oftentimes when I play Knight F3 on move 1 and my opponent plays B6, I'll still play E4. Juicebox, celebrating Independence Day from Cambodia. Bishop B7, Knight C3, E6, and now Bishop B5. Wow, that's a weird move. We're saying good things about you, Bob. Don't worry. It's all good. You got your first... Someone on Sound got his first rating refund this week. I haven't gotten one in a long time. I don't think they like me. Now, I haven't played too many rated games lately. So Bishop B5... Yeah. What does that move have to do with anything? Alright, Bishop E5, A6. Why not? Yeah, the bishop's misplaced out here on B5. What's wrong now, Bob? He was just joking, I think. I don't think anyone thinks you're on whatever, Bob. I really think that's absurd. No, I mean... I don't think that anybody seriously thinks that, okay? It was just like a weird joke. It's obvious that that's a crazy guy who's absolutely, you know, an independent entity. So Bishop A4, C5. Asobi turns it into the Sicilian here. Yeah, I don't know. But here, Asobi, can't you win a pawn by force, like B5? Let me turn off the engine. I don't want to be Maurice Ashley about it. B5, Bishop B3, B4. It was just weird how that guy showed up yesterday, but I think he must have infiltrated. He must have infiltrated through Morwa. I mean, it's pretty strange, but I think that had to be the way he did it. Because Morwad wasn't really party to our conversations here in the stream too much. You know, I don't think he was aware of what was really going on. I would suspect that's what it is. Anyway, guys, let's focus on the game at hand. All right. So I think you win a clear pawn here. Knight A4, Knight E2. You just snap this pawn off, and it's looking good. I think that Bob and Asterbait colluded to let on whatever play, because Bob and Asterbait are really the same person, and actually all three are really the same person. C5. Asterbait plays his first Sicilian with black now. D4, B5, and he wins a piece. Make Bob the chief mod. It gets worse. Everyone is Bob. It's you guys are all the same people. It's all one person watching my stream. There's only one subscriber in the world. So Asterbait wins a piece here. Nice. White's just not paying attention. So c5, d4. The Noah's Ark trap, we call this, in the Roy Lopez. He gets 2 pawns for the piece. Is he even going to get 2 pawns for a piece? Maybe Asterbait just felt sorry for him. I mean, he has his soft side, so... No, I don't think we're going to continue to talk about this. It's silly. Bishop takes e4, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, castles, and now... Yeah, just develop your pieces. Why would you give up that bishop? It's so strong in this diagonal. It is a Sicilian. Yeah, I'm saying it was Asterbait's first Sicilian when he plays c5, and White plays d4 if you go back. But it's never really a Sicilian. It just becomes an extra piece with b5. It is though. I mean, I talked about this before, but Chom, the Hungarian Grandmaster, Chom István, is one of the guys who played the Sicilian with b6. Something Asterbait could try, actually. Asterbait, seriously, you could give it a shot to try. This would be and actually Christian Bauer plays this all the time. To play the Sicilian with b6 on move 2 would be a good kind of hybrid crossover thing for you. You could kind of transition, learn to transition from playing the Owen defense to the Sicilian, or a hybrid of both with b6. So HTFP, unfortunately, it's a holiday, so there's like fireworks and stuff that I want to go see. As I mentioned on the stream yesterday, we start early today. I did not remember to put it in the stream title, but I did put it in the message I sent to everybody who is a subscriber. Should have gotten a message through Twitch, an email message, and I did tell you guys in the yesterday's message about the stream time starting early. So read your emails. Bishop takes e4, d takes c5. Smith Mora. Asterbait, why give up this bishop? It's such a powerful piece. Queen takes, knight c6. Still plenty good enough. Apparently White missed that. Queen c3 double attack here and here. White's got to take any chance he can get here. How about Queen g3, by the way? Right about now. Funk soul brother. Asterbait, quick. What's the move? What are we gonna do? Double attack. G7 and C7. How do we deal with this in a blitz game? Quick, find a move. We're gonna have to lose one or the other. So let's say like Rook C8, Queen G7, and then there's this theme like this. This. I love this when you get this theme going on with the bishop h6. It looks like black should be fine. You can can you play bishop to f8 here? Ironically, how's that? Good move, huh? Bishop f8, queen f8. So any suggestions? I saw that. I did see that. So it's a helpmate with bishop f8. How does one play this position now so as not to lose too much material? Bishop f8 is thematic. Oh, king e7 was suggested. That loses a queen. This is kind of irritating. Like, I don't think I would be able to find a move in time if it was a blitz game. I guess the best thing to do is just lose the exchange, like queen h6, queen h8, and play from there. But now it's a mess. White has 2 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces. I think that would be what I would do if it was a blitz game. But it looks like White has enough material now. So anyways, this didn't happen. White played rook e1. And he missed this double attack, these double attack ideas with the queen. But Asterbate should have never played bishop takes f3 and developed his opponent's queen while giving away his, one of his best pieces, his Owen's defense bishop, essentially. His point was to mobilize quickly with bishop takes f3 and knight c6, but costly. Queen a5 is always bad, Asterbate. I mean, if you're going to move the queen somewhere, I would think I would prefer queen b6 because of the focus against f2. Queen a5 seems like it's more away from the center, not attacking f2, more vulnerable maybe. Move 11, what's up? Thanks everybody for joining me. Let me check something. Yeah, I've got my eBay going, by the way, Bob. I'm starting to like empty stuff out of my house, and I know Bob was subscribed to my eBay. Let me see. You guys can buy stuff. Buy stuff from my eBay. Wait. Instead of sort of donating towards stream, you can buy stuff. Where's my eBay? Hold on a second. How do I find my... I can't find it now. Wait. Let's see. My bids, offers, purchase history, save searches. Where's my stuff? Buy stuff from my account. I was going to put the link in the stream. I can't find it now. Where's my stuff? Bob, you have my... Bob's the only one who knows about my eBay. This is my second job now. I'm like working the secondhand market. All right. Where is my account? You guys can buy books. I don't want to sell my chess books though. Items for sale, 18. My Napster hat. You guys can buy really cool books. Coffee table books. Where should I find the link? Here, I can copy it. This is my eBay account. I have to put the link in there. Anyway, I'm gonna put a lot of stuff there, but there's not so much yet. Anyway, I'll just throw that out there for anyone who's interested in buying useless stuff. No chess books for sale yet, but there might be. Anybody interested in buying some old chess books that I don't want to keep? All right. Anyway, Asterbate's final moves. Queen takes f6, castles. The Napster hat. If you feel sorry for me, you can buy my Napster hat. If you really feel sorry for me. The Napster hat was just an experiment to see if someone would buy it, but it didn't work. So I got an offer for $15, but I declined. Bob thought it was a big mistake. Phew, castles is a little dangerous. There's a rook lift with rook e4, rook g4. How are we defending against the rook lift? La rook lift. Now, obviously, white has perpetual with queen g5 check. So Jim is pointing out that he mouse slipped castles. He meant to play rook g8. Mr. Coffee subscribed tier 1. He subscribed for 20 months. I think Move 11 is like the record holder. He's in the house too. Move 11, you have a game tonight? By the way. Thanks everybody for supporting the stream. subscribing. Checking out my YouTube, my useless stuff on YouTube. If you feel sorry for me, check out my eBay. It's my new job. I'll have to put it in there for Moobot. Alright. An automated eBay notification. So, castles. Anyway, this is interesting. I'm going to guess Rook E4 wins for white. That's my guess. What do you guys think? Any defense for black after Rook E4? I mean, you could play H5, but I'm not liking it too much. That looks like mate. Any suggestions from the peanut gallery? Or is this just over? Knight E7 was found. Okay. No, you found it. Okay, you found a defense. Good job, Chess Fun. Knight E7. Only move. No, that might hold. So that's pretty convincing, actually. The knight's hanging. We're blocking the mate threats with knight G6. No one else saw it, just Chess Fun. I didn't see it either. Where's my coffee, man? Damn. Alright. Guys, please support the stream. Like Mr. Coffee, subscribed. You can donate, you can buy my junk on eBay. The new way to support the stream. Buy my useless items on eBay. But anyway, Asterbate, man, the guy missed Rook E4. Let's see what the computer says. Knight E7 only move. Queen G5 check. Oh no, the bishop's hanging. Knight G6, Queen C5. And it's lucky that black's not lost. Wow. This is 2 pawns down, my friend. Black is 2 pawns down, but white's in a terrible pin here laterally. So I don't know what would have happened, but that was the only way for white to really play for the win there. He has a draw in hand. He plays Queen G5 check, King H8. Just takes the bishop. This was the best then. I'm saying this was the best. It wasn't the only way to play for win. The way he played is the best. He's just taking the piece. Okay. This was better than Rook E4. Rook G8, Rook D1. Asterbate, how are you going to swindle him? No, I need more coffee. So this is actually right. It's just ironic that there's no way to mate black with the exposed king position. Just take the piece. He didn't get tempted. Wow. So he trades into an endgame but loses all of his pawns. Bang. There goes the structure. We never see Asterbate in the endgame, really. I was actually commentating about this with with Morales in the tournament yesterday, the other day. Tuesday, I never have endgames with Morales. He never seems to trade queens. Warnaki, welcome. We never have endgames with Asterbate. You know, you never see an Asterbate endgame, right? The queen's always on the board. Someone loses their pieces or gets mated. You know, now we have an equal endgame. There's going to be a back rank mate. What do you guys think? Knight E4, Knight E5. And most people would be very concerned about Knight F6, including myself. But still, that's not that dangerous. You can just play Rook F8. And plus, I mean, F7 is hanging now anyway, so this does look like a good move. And it actually wins. Bang. Wow. Wow. And it stops Rook D2 as well. Nice move. It's almost forced anyway, because the only other move to play is like to be down a pawn in an endgame, something like Rook F8, and you're just gonna lose. So this was a nice job. Asterbate endgame win. But it is a tactic. 'Tis a tactic. Queenless tactic endgame win. There you go. Exchange. There goes the king safety. And mate. He missed the right side mate. But nice to see Asterbate can convert the tactics in the endgame as well. I was thinking once he got to trade queens, it would be, you know, Asterbate would be in trouble. There's no way to checkmate, but there still was. Mate and tactics with knight e5. But good job spotting knight c6, knight e5. I think a lot of people would have been disheartened at this moment. Like, oh man, the queens were traded, I'm down a pawn. And it's just like a nice opportunistic knight e5, knight f3. Suddenly black's just winning. But a back and forth game. You were lost. You were down 2 pawns. Primarily due to the mouse slip. Okay, guys, that was a long analysis. Is Mule Skinner here in the house? Because I said I would wait with Mule Skinner's game. The first game is always long. Yeah, it kind of gets settled in. If Mule Skinner's... I'm going to do Mule Skinner's game now, no matter whether he's here or not, because it's 5:30. Actually, I should have him on my friend list, but I don't. Some of you guys I neglected to put in my friends list. Sorry about that. I mean, Mule Skinner's been one of the long-time subscribers to the stream. I should really have him on my follow list. I don't know why I never did. Alright, Mule Skinner is up next, so let's find that. Reading my email, Bob. Where is Mule Skinner? He was the first one. I won a correspondence game against Alms. Here it is. Game for analysis. Not sure when the next game analysis session is, but here is 15. So he submitted this early, 6 days ago. A 15 plus 20 game against a strong USIM. Wonder who that is. A strong USIM. It's not me, obviously. Here on lichess, at the end I lost but had some good positions underway. Consider this game pretty symptomatic for me in what way that against strong players I'm often getting wimp. I'm sorry, I can't read. I consider this game pretty symptomatic for me in the way that against strong players I often get winning positions but lose anyway. Here's the game. Jim said he's seen this game, so I wanted to say, oh, it's against Master of Mayhem. What strong I am. Gotta troll Esserman a little bit. Yeah, he's good. He's not my level, but no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He's a rival level player of mine. Younger. He's a little younger, not as handsome though. So this is Mule Skinner against Master of whatever. The Master of Mayhem. Alright, e4, e5. Wow. Yeah, that's weird. The Master of Mayhem's playing e4, e5. Okay, there's still some dynamic ways to make mayhem with e4, e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6. If you want to kill a Master of Mayhem, you probably suck the life out of the game, like Nefedov here with bishop takes c6. You want to make them feel pain. You play this, and the mayhem is just gone from the position. But bishop a4, knight f6, and now d3. Chess Fun, how much would someone have to donate to see you play the Master of Mayhem on stream with commentary? I don't know. I mean, that's like Mayhem likes money, so you probably have to pay him a lot. I'm not as probably not as pricey, you know. That's probably really his call because he's, you know, he's a businessman at heart. I'm more of a entrepreneur. No, I'm more of like a, not an entrepreneur. I'm saying I'm more of a philanthropist than he's the entrepreneur. And I'm a philanthropist. D3, B5, and bishop B3, bishop B7, knight C3. Interesting. So this is a well-known line, actually, but it doesn't have like a great rap, really. It's considered to be very positional, kind of a little boring for white, but a good choice, actually, against the Master of Mayhem. Mule Skinner likes closed positions, and he also likes to play the Grand Prix attack against the Sicilian. You've got f4 break kind of themes going on here. Plus he gets the Grand Prix attack feel to the position. I mean, I'm open to colluding. I was joking about this like last stream. I'm open to collaborating with another streamer. I'm not going out of my way to do it because honestly, I don't have a lot of free time, and I'm not really trying to, you know, crazily make profit from what I'm doing. But I wouldn't be opposed to doing a collaboration with another streamer, so I'm open to it. Kind of busy at the moment with my eBay business. Anyway, knight c3, d6, a4. Now I do know that knight a5 is obviously an issue here. I hate closed positions, especially in blitz. This is 10, what is it, 10-20? 15-20. It's hard to get Muleskinner out of his closed positions. I also think that it's a good idea against Mark. He's very good at tactics. He's very good in open positions, and I think something strategic is the best way to go against him. My last effort... Actually, my last game with Esterman, I don't remember. There was one game that was like a reversed London system where I was slightly better, but it was a draw. Then there was this game where I played the reverse Benko against him, which probably wasn't the best idea. That game got really crazy and ended in a draw. I think I have like 3 draws and a win against the Master of Mayhem. But they're mostly, well, not that old. I mean, the last couple games we played were like 5 or 6 years ago. Knight c3, d6, a4. But he has yet to beat me. And hopefully he never will. a4, b4. Knight d5. So this is known. Knight a5. And I know there's a b3 pawn sacrifice around here somewhere. Isn't there like a line like b3, I thought? To try to do this sort of positional idea. I mean, I'm not sure about the exact position where you can do this. I mean, obviously here, you know, you would do this. This would be like atrocious for white. Probably the pawn structure from hell. You know, like, I don't think that's really a good thing. I mean, unless you can get in b4. Actually, it's kind of weird. What would happen here? Wow, the engine wants to play the crazy c5 now. This is fascinating. You want the tank? Asterbait, did you check the eBay? Yeah. My son would be psyched. If somebody buys the tank, that's his item. Alright. Yeah, it'll probably be the only item that sells. Like, none of the adult items will sell on eBay. Knight takes d5. Interesting line. But I know the b3, that's a pawn sack. You know, it might be better for one to take with the bishop, though. I'm not sure. Bishop takes, pawn takes here. And then, like, obviously this is like atrocious for black. I mean, white, excuse me. My other black. My other black, ED, isolated pawns all over the place. So guys, support my other job. Buy random eBay items. No. Alright. Napster hat. Now, Napster hat, I declined the deal. I had a $15 offer, and I didn't take it. Very rare. Given to me by one of the relatives of the owner of Napster. Creator. The creator. Alright, let's see what happens in the game. So knight a5, knight e7. You know, I feel weird about this, like taking that bishop. It almost seems like a shame. At the same time, you've got to do something. It's a bad bishop. It's a close position. But it's still, it leaves white with an unopposed dark sword bishop. I'm on the fence about it. Wow, so apparently Esterman blundered here. He didn't know his stuff. There's no games from this position at all in the opening Explorer. Oh, so nobody dared to play knight takes b3. Esterman just overlooked knight c6 or dismissed it as not serious. There's a game by Hambleton from the Chess Bros, 2013, where he actually lost with white. And the only other game is this game, Jovanovic against Blagojevic. These guys are good players who play a lot in the Hungarian team championship. I've probably played Jovanovic. I don't even remember. So, alright, so this is a blunder. It's a very, you know, easy to allow, you know, that's an easy mistake to make, even for a strong player like Mark. You're just not looking for this in-between move, and there it is. So queen d7, and Mule Skinner wins a pawn. Clear pawn. But we've got to evaluate this position now, okay? There's damage to the pawn structure, right? For both sides, you know, I mean, and plus there's opposite color bishops, so that's Fanatic Chess. Thank you for being a subscriber. You know, Stockfish is claiming this huge 1.3 advantage here for white, but in reality, very dynamic positions anytime you have opposite color bishops. So I think the advantage here is pretty unstable. One mistake and it could shift dramatically. Obviously, like, white absolutely 100% cannot afford to ever lose this pawn on d3. It's sort of gluing everything together. Opposite color bishops is going to be sharp. Esterman played queen e6. Very logical move. He's hitting b3. He's guarding his pawn. This move for me is like, no way. I mean, let's see. Mule Skinner didn't like the backwardness of his pawn, but I mean, I felt like d3 is gluing his position together. This is exactly what I said a minute ago. I mean, it's hard when you're playing a much higher rated player. You get a little psyched out. You maybe make moves you wouldn't normally make against someone your own level. You start playing for a draw when you would otherwise play for a win. I guess what I don't like about d4 is the fact that he eliminates basically black's weakness on e5. He's also eliminating his own weakness, though. So I don't think it's that bad of a move. Okay, d4. E takes d4. And I would think this is the position that would likely peter out to a draw. However, if we lose the central pawns, black could be better because of this pawn over here. I mean, this construction over here could be like a kind of weakness. Feels like white's playing, you know, very safely against a dangerous player. Trading queens. Not a bad decision, but I'm a little bit concerned about the endgame, this pawn here, me being the first to fall. There we are. He's on b3. What we don't want to do is get tied down passively. Thanks for hosting Fanatic Chess. I'm concerned that Mule Skinner is going to get tied down to that weakness on b3. No birds. I think there's a sprinkler. Sprinkler's crazy. It doesn't really work right. I'm not good with programming underground sprinkler systems. Not one of my strong points. We're going to have to e8. Bishop f4. So we got counter threats. He's held. The Mule Skinner's holding. And this is like grown draw. At this point. I mean even a 2400 probably is going to be willing to take a draw at this point. Not a lot of play left in the position. Get the king to the center. Whoa. Alright, so black's threatening g5. But I mean, maybe we should start with our king first before we start moving pawns. Okay, h4 is not a bad move, but there you go. See, king first. Esterman decides to take on c4. I think this is kind of a debatable decision. There must have been something he didn't like about, I guess, c5 is bishop e3, huh? That's going to be awkward. So he eliminates that guy and goes into the endgame with knight there. Wow. Isn't it odd to fix the pawn structure? Well, Esterman seems to be desperate now. I'm sure there's a better way that black can play this. In fact, can't he, like, play knight d6? Is that a dead draw, or is it just me? I think this is just a dead draw. Knight d6, pawn d6, bishop takes b4, bishop takes b3. I mean, yeah, you're down a pawn, but nobody's winning this position in this kind of endgame. It's just, no, you're just taking the a4 pawn. Okay, a5. Yeah. Yeah, it's pawn, pawn, draw. Dead draw. So knight d6. He played, yeah, bishop takes c4, so this may be a serious mistake, actually, by Esserman. Computer likes it, though. So knight d6, it really likes it. Wow. I thought that way was going to be better. Maybe I misevaluated this. I would have played knight d6 and taken the draw, you know. Esserman takes. Here I'm concerned that white could actually be better. There must be a tactical line that I didn't see. Wow. What? Okay, so knight d6. I was expecting b3 now. But what's the problem with b3? I mean, I don't understand. Is the fact that our h-pawn is fixed on the dark square on the king side a big deal? Knight f5? What's the problem here? I think it is a little odd to fix the pawn structure, honestly, in a vacuum. I'm not really getting this. Like, the engine was like, oh, black's better. Yeah, so b3. Esserman missed it. This is the magic move. And that would lead to a more complex situation now. This is a little bit like my game with the troll, where I ended up, the guy offered a draw in my Tuesday tournament in a position where I had two pawns on the wrong color. And it was a bishop versus bishop endgame instead of bishop versus knight. But the same issue here for Muleskinner. I mean, he's got a couple of pawns here on h4 and b2 that are major liabilities. So had Esserman found this, apparently, you know, with the threat of playing knight d6, this would have been really... You don't want to put your pawns, if you're black here, you don't want your pawns to be on dark squares. I mean, the same thing with white. Nobody really wants their pawns to be on dark squares. So, I mean, they're limited here. Nobody's going to play the same game perfectly. Esserman has less than 2 minutes. Muleskinner has 3. But bishop takes c4, pawn takes c4. Now I like white, you know, b3. This, I think, is a mistake, actually. Unless you've got knight f5, knight b4. I would play b3 and play for a win. I am playing this position for a win with white now, probably after b3. I was concerned about knight f5. Bishop takes b4, knight d4. But now there's time for bishop a5. Something like c5. Bishop b6, knight takes b3. And again, I think that white is like infinitesimally better, but it's probably a draw. Yeah, because there's this. Still, bishop versus knight, it's usually better for the bishop with pawns on both sides of the board, you know. I'm surprised Muleskinner didn't play b3. But he was trying to trade stuff off. So let's see. All right, this is still reasonable. Black's king's a little faster to the center. I mean, if you want to go back, guys, we can't spend forever on this game, but I'm a little bit on the fence about Muleskinner's decision to play h4, honestly, at this point. If we go back to move 26, this just seems like, okay, it's a luxury, but first of all, you're putting the pawn on a dark square, which later costs white in a lot of lines, and I think you should centralize your king here. So let's see. Yeah. h4 was a serious mistake that, like, lost all of white's advantage, if he has any advantage here. The first priority in any endgame is to centralize the king. And you see Esserman do exactly that with, like, king f7. the purpose of f3 to get king mobility, right? And the pawns are on the right color. I mean, they can be infiltrated by bishop c4, bishop f1, but that's difficult for black to get in there. I think this was a serious mistake, not playing, you know, not getting the king in the center now. White has to be slightly better. The king is getting there first, and you actually have the threat of like king d4, king c5. Not really fun for white, actually. You know, let's see, king e3. Is our bishop going to have a problem now, like g5? It's not that big a deal. It's not like you're going to get forked instantly with f5, f4. f5, king d4, you know. White is better now. Like, this is this could be very bad for Esterman, actually. So that's something that we didn't note, you know, but it was important. Anyways, so we got to this position where Esterman got the better king position. White has a better minor piece and a better pawn structure, and black has a better king. So it should kind of balance out. This is a strange passive square for the knight. Let me turn off the engine. I like what he did with the king side. I like what you've done with the house. No, I like what Milskinner did with the king side, getting that pawn to h5. Wow. That is bad for Esterman. I mean, he doesn't want those pawns to be fixed on dark squares here. That if a bishop comes to f8, it's like fatal. There he goes, heading right for f8. Very subtle. Uh-oh. Now, we don't really want to put the pawn on dark squares. I think the truth is some sort of draw. How about b3? Can we play b3? Let's see. Yep, best move. Fighting for the white squares. b3. Yeah, I mean, the only chance really is for white to win. But this is not good. You don't want the pawns to end up on dark squares. He's going for g5, though, and it's time pressure. Esterman finds this opportunistic move, f5. Yeah, if you take knight f6, knight h5. This is a nice move, though. g5. Check this out. There's going to be bishop takes g7 and then h6, right? Tell me that's not going to happen. So he didn't fall for it. I mean, something like this variation, right? Take, take, take. You could play king f4, but look at bishop c3, knight e6, bishop takes g7. That's my whole idea. And there is this known, you know, saying that knights have big problems with rook pawns. This is a typical example of knights notoriously problematic in stopping rook pawns. So I thought that's what Milskinner was going for here with g5, actually. But interesting. I'm a little bit concerned about this. The black king's coming in. What are we going to do? How are we going to attack the H pawn fast enough? B4 is out. Oh my gosh. It's a long, long road to attack the H6 pawn. He found it. Check. And then here. But Esterman has like knight at G3 if he wants to eliminate the H pawn. What? Oh man. So, I mean, if you want to blame the game like on losing because of something, probably it's like F4. You know, here Milskinner is just better after B3. All of his pawns are on the right color. Black's pawns are on the wrong color. Then he has no way to infiltrate, and if anything, white is better. But when he plays F4, he gives black this hole on E4. You see what happened here. Esterman found F5. I mean, I guess you could play something like bishop a5, let's say, instead of bishop e1. Slightly more active than bishop e1. Maybe not that different. I don't understand the next move, king e2. I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, the game hurts me too. Bob, sorry. It's over. Can't stop the pawn. But I don't, I don't think like Black played great or anything. He had like one trick with f5. He was really worse and kind of lucky to win. Anyway, tough loss for Mule Skinner. Let's go on, guys. So if there's any other games from the subscribers, we might have time for one more. I'm gonna keep going. Save a Dog is next. It was an interesting endgame. There's a lot, of course, we didn't cover here. There's not enough time. Like an endgame like this, you could devote an hour or maybe even 2 hours to analyzing it. I mean, we can't possibly go over everything. There is luck in chess, right? We had this conversation last week. All right, where are we? Save a Dog. Oh, Save a Dog's up there. All right, Save a Dog. Copy and paste. Tools, analysis board. All right. Can we guess what color Save a Dog is? Save a Dog is white? Is he here? He said white, okay. So c4, I thought he plays c4. c4, c6, knight f3, d5. Yeah, and now Save a Dog played b3. This is an old variation. I had an old book on the Reti. b3 is not played that commonly. I don't see anything wrong with it. The Fritz from 20 years ago used to play with the kind of cool line here. D takes c4. D takes c4, b takes c4, and e5. This is rarely seen, but Fritz 3 or Fritz 4, one of those like old chess-based engines, its opening book, it would always do this, which I think is kind of a cool line. It gives up, yeah, Tal versus Gingy 1991. That's like got to be one of Tal's last games of all time. It was... Tal was in Boston for the US Open, or maybe later. Tal must have died like in 1992. I don't remember which year, but I missed him because he was in Boston in 1990 or 1989. Right before I had a chance to meet him. Yeah, that would have been cool. Everybody said he was really cool. But b3, this is a cool idea. e5, knight takes e5, queen d4, of course, wins a piece. So he died in 1992. One of his last ever games. There's even some recent game from 2010 here. It's a way for Black to play, but it's not really considered to be the main line. b3, knight f6. Actually, Save a Dog. I like, you know, everything here. I've played e3. I played g3. You know, obviously you can play the Slav if you want to. I've even seen people play like queen c2, though I never really got into this, but it seems like a reasonable thing to do. All right, so b3, knight f6, bishop b2, bishop f5. This could transpose to one of my last games against Esserman. I played a reverse London system. I was white in this type. Did a double fianchetto. I mean, that's the normal thing to do now. g3, e6, bishop g2. So we've got a very standard position here. And, no, my game against Esserman where I was white, I didn't play c4, actually. I played a different formation with d3, knight on bd2, castles e3, queen e2. It wasn't actually technically a Reti. This is slightly different now. This is the main line of these kind of things. Is it rude if you meet a strong chess player in person that you're more interested in playing a game than chatting? Well, I mean, I think that a lot of times, like, strong players are constantly approached by people who are like hero worshippers or whatever, and they come off as very arrogant. But I mean, honestly, like if you're at like a chess tournament and you see like a famous player or a strong player, they can come off as arrogant. Is it more? But your question is, if you meet a strong chess player in person, is it rude that you're more interested in playing a game than chatting? No, I don't think so. It seems kind of normal. Castles, bishop b7, d3, h6, knight on bd2. I mean, I've played this position like a bazillion times with both colors. You know, I don't play the London setup, but I play the same position that HTFP is playing here with white with both colors. I play the same position with black. So a3, a5. Yeah, there's this rook a2 move, which is really weird. That's like a Tony Miles thing. So the standard plan, I guess, is rook c1. Rook c1, rook c2. This is what Rady played. Rook c1, rook c2, queen a1. I've played queen c2 here. In fact, I had a game the other day against somebody in almost the exact same position. Another idea that I have when I'm black is to actually trade pieces with 95. You see here, like, there's a couple of draws. And I think this would be a more typical thing to do if you're playing the black pieces and you want to draw. You're just kind of exchanging some pieces to get some mobility. You've played over 20,000 games using the London system. Yeah, I think that's kind of crazy. Maybe you should try something different. Get a little more creative. It's not my favorite opening. Actually, '95. It's hard to compare the London system and the Berlin defense are different things. Anyway, hold on a second, guys. I gotta answer a question here. Someone sent me a private message. Hold on. What is this? What is this crazy stuff I'm getting? I can't control the... Damn it. Damn it, Jerry. I'm confused. All right. Yeah, I don't appreciate July 4th celebrations involving tanks. I'll pass on that. So Queen C1 was now played. I've never seen anyone do this before. Actually, I have seen Bishop C3. I have seen and played Bishop C3. But normally the way to start it would be Queen C2, then play Bishop C3 and Queen B2. This is a very standard way of creating the battery on the long diagonal. I mean, obviously there's the weird Rook A2, Queen A1, which I think is very strange. I don't like that. And again, just trading pieces with like 95 is solid. But you can also try to play for E4. I mean, it's just that it's kind of a little dicey with this diagonal. And white has to be very careful about the D3 square in particular. Okay, that's weird. Sorry, guys. Getting distracted here. So, queen c1, a bit of a weird move. Queen b6. That's a very standard move for black. And now bishop c3. So Sebe Attila, my friend, did this himself. Well, it's another way of playing queen c2. It's really the same thing, effectively. It really doesn't matter. Okay, queen... Knight c5, queen b2, rook d8. This is weird. I don't know why black's putting the rook on d8. Nothing really going on there. I have had a number of games where people sacrifice pieces on d3. Haven't I? You do see sometimes this kind of crazy thing happen. There'll be some weird... There was one player on the stream who was doing stuff like that against me. All right. Bishop d4. What's the plan here? Just another Morty. 167 subscribed to tier 1. I wonder if he's related to Morphe. Is that a play on words? Thanks for subscribing, Morty. Just another Morphe. All right. Bishop d4. Okay. Thank you for subscribing, sir. Bishop d4, queen c7. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what this does. I guess we're threatening... We are threatening b4. Okay. Bishop d4. I'm kind of liking this for white. You know, like, black did something seriously wrong. What happened here? I kind of liked it for black to a certain degree. So I guess this bishop... Oh, sorry, this knight c5 move ends up being a mistake. These guys, Sebe and Pasher, played a game in 2017. They're both good players. Bishop h7. That's a very standard move. I mean, you almost always play that move. And now Sebe played queen b2. And now there's a bunch of games. I have even encountered this, ironically. Burmakin did that. The most solid grandmasters I know. He takes solid to another level. Burmakin from 2006. But the threat's to simply win a piece. That's kind of awkward. Now what do you do? Like d4? So it looks like knight c5 is wrong. It just looks like, you know, an obvious move. But it's vulnerable to being attacked. And he ends up losing time. Queen b2, rook d8. I don't really get rook d8 either. There's nothing happening here unless you are going to sacrifice a piece on d3, which probably doesn't work. Now bishop d4. How about queen a6 as an alternative to queen c7? Normally black's plan is actually, ironically, to play b5, believe it or not. Informative chess streams are good. Free lessons. How about queen a6? Let's take a look at the engine says here. Because queen c7 looks awkward. Nothing can really hit the queen on a6. Here. Okay, there is b4. I mean, true enough. It is kind of weird. It's going to be awkward no matter what you do, I guess. Like an endgame after this, for example, bc4. Queen b2. Bishop b2. You've always got to watch these sacrifices. If he gets like 3 pawns for a piece, it might be playable. I disagree with the computer's evaluation here. It's saying that black is slightly better. I can't imagine that's true. Doesn't seem right. Maybe equal, but I wouldn't say that black is better. There's this move. And you have to find an awkward square for your bishop. Or maybe this is better than what he did. So queen c7. Now I'm starting to like white. This is very, very bad. He just wasted time. Moved his knight around for no reason. b4. This is the standard Reti plan. You think black has more space? Why? He has a d5 pawn? I mean, I get that, but I mean, this is hyper modern chess for white. We're controlling the key squares without a central pawn. It's not necessary. Yeah, this is perfect. Perfect play. Minority attack. Now white has a clear advantage. Deceptive, but you've got everything in control. E5 is under control. Yeah, I'm not surprised black played C5 here. B6. That artificially isolates the pawn on C5, actually separating those pawns. Really nice game by white. Queen B8. And now a surprising move, bishop E5, which I didn't think of, because the bishop seems extremely strong on the diagonal. Wouldn't be my first idea to give that up. Can you define a minority attack? It's usually like you have a minority of pawns on the queen's side, and you throw them forward against a larger island of pawns, and you basically use them as like a battering ram to break up the opponent's pawn structure on that side. So in this case, the B pawn and the C pawn went forward. The B and the C pawns went forward against the B, C, and A, or B, C, and D pawns to break it up. We're creating weaknesses in the opponent's pawn structure. This is an interesting move, bishop E5. I don't think I would have considered that. I would have just like retreated my bishop back. Stockfish gives white a 4-pawn advantage. Bishop E5 is the second choice of Stockfish. I wouldn't have even considered this move. I probably would have sort of automatically played this. But now black has like knight D5, which is a pain because it attacks our bishop again. I can't believe the size of the advantage that we're getting here, according to the engine. So bishop E5, knight E5, knight E5, knight D7, rook A8, queen A8, rook A1, queen B8, rook A7. Almost every move is like the #1 choice of Stockfish. Knight E5, knight E5. Well, you took with the queen, but that's good too. This is just gone. So it's over. I mean, black just loses the B pawn and loses the game. Taking on F3, what? We're going over a game submitted by HTFP. This is a classical time control game, but was it a live game? Over the board. Wow. I mean, this pawn is just gone, and that's the whole game, you know? I mean, that's basically when black played C5, you know, what's he supposed to do? Bob, this is the minority attack, essentially. This pawn is the minority against the majority. The B pawn is the minority, and the B7 and the C6 are the majority. It's a 1 against 2 on the queen side, and whatever black does, there's going to be some issue. If he takes, he has an isolated pawn on B7. If he lets us take, he'll have an isolated pawn that way. And he tried to keep his pawns like not isolated by playing C5, but then they become artificially isolated. They're like separated with this, and so the B7 pawn becomes weak. It was a really nice game by white. You know, I definitely would have missed bishop E5, I think. One notable fact here, and we're gonna move on to the next game soon, but this is a very good exploitation of that bishop on F5, the London system bishop. It never did anything, you know. I mean, it just sat there. It's blocked out by this pawn chain at E2 and D3, and it's just like a spectator. I mean, another moment that you want to think about here is black's decision to take on C4. Double question mark, right? Why is black voluntarily exchanging this pawn on C4? Someone mentioned that black had more space, and that's sort of true, right? He has a central pawn, so this is maybe his worst move of the game, taking on C4, giving up his strong point on D5. This is really bad, you know. That's where he lost the game, essentially, strategically. And now that opens up this, it opens up this. It opens up all this play for white. It has no benefit for black. And it's really notable, these bishops. This is ineffective. This is ineffective. Both black bishops are completely hemmed in by their own pawns or by white's pawns. And the rest is just history. And he wins so simply by stealing the A file, penetrating on the 7th rank. There's no defense. And the endgame is just over. I mean, this pawn is on the 6th rank. It's 2 squares from promoting. Yeah. Easy win. No. I mean, b7 is really strong. Obviously, this is good too. We're guaranteed to win an exchange at least, right? Yeah, winning a piece, in fact. All right, good game. So guys, it's 6:15. I'm going to be streaming till at least 7:30, 7:45ish, we'll see. So that was just an excellent game by White, but Black played he did some strange things. I mean, knight c5 seemed like a waste of time, and finally he never took the time to play bishop h7, which is a good prophylactic move in the London system. And finally, like, taking on c4 just had no justification. It's all strategic mistakes. Bob's turn. Bob's last. You're always last, Bob. Sorry. Bob, you can buy earlier place. Nils used to do that. You can make a donation to get a better seat, basically. Buy a Napster hat on eBay. All right. Selling stuff on eBay. All right. How many title players actually remember what openings to do against specific players? I don't know what you mean exactly by that. So, Save a Dog, Jim is up next. Jim always provides with an interesting game, usually against a strong player. He's always playing simuls against a lot of strong players. He's a simul pro. This is a recent game, White with b3, where I had the upper hand, played some good moves, but couldn't find a way to extend my advantage. I'd like to know if you have any advice for such situations. Well, I mean, Jim, I think that if you're frustrated and you don't know a plan, I mean, for me, the best thing to do is to sit back and, if you have time to do that, have a little conversation with yourself. Jonathan Rowson, Chess for Zebras, probably would have recommended talking to his pieces or whatever. But Rowson, like a really philosophical type of player. What I would recommend is like taking stock in the position. Like, if you think you're better but you don't know what to do, probably you need to go back to the position and just sort of overview of like what's going on, who's better here, why. You know, if you have a little conversation with yourself, start saying to yourself, okay, I'm better because I have more space, because my opponent's king isn't open. I mean, maybe you did that and it's still not enough. But I mean, I think that overview, kind of get a feel for what the situation is. What's the evaluation? Who's better and why? And have this conversation with yourself. And, you know, obviously not out loud, but hopefully you can get clues as to what your plan should be. You know, and then you can like go into more detailed kind of calculations. But let's see. I mean, it does look like if we look at the graph here of this game, Jim had like a really big advantage, something like +2. Yeah, I mean, like, to answer this question that we have posed there, HTFP subscribed to Tier 1. 7 months. Yeah, I mean, I think you need to sit down with yourself in the middle of the game and say, look, I feel I'm better here, but I need to, like, say, okay, why am I better? This, I have more space. This, you know. So to try to define your advantage, then you can, like, reverse engineer what your plan should be, you know. I think it works a lot of the time. You'll find hints as to what the correct way to continue is. Let's see. So, Black and ambitious here, trying to play like White. It's a reverse Queen's Indian. Queen's Indian attack. Black can't do d4 pawn sacrifices like as if he was White. That's the key. I don't know about the theory here. You might know more than me since you're playing b3 all the time. This raises interesting questions here. Bishop c4 is kind of like an automatic move. I'd imagine White might have other ways to deploy. Usually you're going to play like a kind of hedgehog. As far as the opening goes, this is a strong player, right? Andres, 21. This is a Lithuanian guy? Latvia. Okay. So slightly better is knight c3, but I mean, again, it's like, dude, it's a hedgehog. Like, you don't put your knight on c3 all the time in the hedgehog. There are some very specific variations. This is essentially like a hedgehog reversed. In general, you don't want to block your bishop with your knight, right? I mean, you must know that. There are specific variations, though, where that is played in the proper hedgehog with black. But it's usually like this weird line, like knight c3, queen f5, queen b1. You know, if you were black in the hedgehog, you'd find almost like identical variation to this. This actually exists, you know, in theory. But I don't think that black can play the same as if he was playing white, you know, obviously here. But my first reaction would be to go for a kind of hedgehog, like a normal knight d2, a3, you know, queen c2, rook c1, blah, blah, blah. We're playing the hedgehog with an extra tempo. So you play bishop c4. All right. He wisely goes back, castles, castles. And now we have to make a decision. Are we playing the hedgehog? Or are we playing some sort of d4 move, you know? d4 is going to trade pawns and simplify the game. If you really want to win, I mean, maybe, as crazy as it sounds, like this is a move, you know? You just like accept. You see, Jabava did it twice. Jabava. He did it twice. Playing bishop e2. Black lost a move, and we're going to go into a hedgehog. The thing is, Jim, like, I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat, but if you want to win, like, sometimes you have to play kind of like just to keep the pieces on the board, not trade stuff. There's nothing wrong with d4, though. Obviously, it's a strong move, but it does allow simplification. So this is a weird move by black. I mean, really ambitious. He's black. First of all, he was ambitious in the beginning, right? Playing like he was white with d5, c5. And now he's like lost the tempo with his queen, and he's moving his knight again. You know, that does seem kind of weird. I would play queen e2. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with d4. It might even be the best move for white. But I mean, I think playing d3 might keep more attention. I would think about queen e2 here. Putting your queen on c2 looks exposed to me. I mean, there's the c file. There's bishop f5. And maybe it's a trap. You know, like bishop f5, g4 wins a piece. But this is generally like the correct square for the queen to go to. This type of structure. Let's see what the engine says. Queen c1. That's definitely not something I would have considered. It guards the bishop, though. It might be part of the same idea for you. I mean, the same thing, though. I mean, here it guards the bishop as well. I don't understand. I'm not particularly afraid of bishop g4. Even if he, like, doubled the pawns, he's giving up a valuable bishop there. So, I would choose e2. I mean, here, the queen is a little more exposed to attacks by stuff like knight c6. Bishop f5, g4. Unfortunately allows knight g5. Ugh. This gets crazy. Takes, king h1, get mated. If king h1, queen d6, you have to go here and allow knight h4 check. Okay, let's not do this. So bishop f5 is playable. And it actually almost refutes queen c2. Wow. No, you have bishop d3. So this was the game. I didn't even know. I mean, I'm going over the game by accident because I was just looking at a likely continuation. He seems like very intuitive, but a little overly ambitious. Bishop d3. Queen d5 now would be a very ambitious move. Knight d6. So why doesn't this just lose a pawn for black? It does, right? It does. It's just like loses a pawn. Okay, bishop f5, knight f5, d takes c5. Thank you very much. Obviously, you could take with the queen as well. But this looks like a strong queenside majority. Okay, so first of all, we want to make sure this pawn is secured, you know. So my first thought is to play a3 in this position. Make sure our investment is protected. You played rook a c1. Obviously not a bad move. Here I'm surprised. I thought you would play queen b2, but that's getting forked. Okay. I mean, maybe queen b2 right away would have been a really tight way to play this. I guess we don't really have a discovery. Oh, we do. I mean, if knight b4 down, knight d5 check wins a piece. So I kind of like this, you know, getting off there and then playing like b4. I mean, this looks like easy, you know. I don't know how you think about the game, Jim, but maybe if you were a little bit more prophylactic. I mean, I think in this game, this is a position that demands prophylaxis. You're up a pawn. The opponent has no compensation for it. You know, I wouldn't consider even... Masturbate would be like playing for mate or something. You know, I think it's inappropriate here. You're just up a pawn, promote your queen side, secure everything. That's all you have to do. Just nail it down, secure it, and you win the game. I mean, this is like three pawns against two. Should win the game, you know, and all you need to do is make sure that everything else is equal and you win, you know. Your king is safer than his king. You're up a pawn on the queen side. Under no circumstances should you not win this game. So b4 apparently was the best option. Well, I don't see how b4 works right away. Like b4, knight takes b4, queen b2, knight d3. I'm not like seeing how that tactically would work. Like b4 right away. I see. Okay. Like b4 instead of, you know, there's no reason you had to play knight c3 necessarily. I think it was a good move, but I mean, you have that queen b2 seems like a good diagonal for the queen. It's well protected. Nothing can attack it over there. It promotes the queenside pawns. And again, we have all sorts of options for the knight, including knight c3, but knight a3, knight d2. Everything is possible. There's no reason you shouldn't win this game. Black played very, very sloppily. Sloppily. Now knight b4 starts to be a little problematic, but you had this move. And he just goes back. Yeah. Now, you know, the next move for me is defining, you know, here. I think this is where you need to look when you go back on this game and be like, why are you playing knight d5 and what does this do? I don't see it. Like, you've got the queenside majority, which you're going to try to... I would try to secure that queenside majority, you know, the b4 type of idea, right? Again, like, say, what is my advantage in this position? A 3-on-2 majority on the queen side. Forget about, like, playing against his king or, you know. He obviously has queen a5, too, so that takes that away. Because otherwise, this would be a good move, something like rook d1. But he's playing queen a5. This pawn is almost, like, isolated. Now your a2 is, you know, you want your pawns to be united. Yeah, but you don't need to transfer a knight to the king side. I mean, you need to queen your extra pawn. That's all. He basically gave you the game. I mean, here, have an extra queenside pawn. Just promote it and win. And you went on a different tangent, you know, with knight d5. I mean, I don't feel like you really have an advantage on the king side. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you could put your knights on f4 and whatever, but your advantage is over here, you know, with that pawn. So I think you kind of lost the thread there a little bit. I mean, obviously you're still better as long as you don't lose one of these pawns, but the pawns are now sort of staggered and they're not connected. Literally connected. Yeah, he's going to blockade that pawn, maybe win it back. I was looking at an interesting move here, knight e5. I'm not using the engine, but it's an idea. Try to remove the defender. But now here on queen c4, knight c4, you get, I was thinking you could get in there, but there are problems here, I guess. He's got the knight on f5 guarding that, and so stuff like this starts to be annoying, threatening this. You might already have some problem here. Yeah, the pawns aren't harmonious. This isn't good, you know. Need to keep the pawn structure nice and neat, you know. It got staggered and weakened. A4 wasn't the move you really wanted to have played. Anyway, let's continue. So queen c4 here, queen c2, good. h3. I mean, that's the move of someone who doesn't have a plan. You know, obviously h3 is not a bad move, but it certainly wouldn't be my first choice. I don't think there's a back rank mate anytime right about now, so like rook d1 probably be good. All right, it's still not a really bad move, and it eliminates the back rank mate. I don't think h3 is bad. It is a prophylactic move. Bob, what? I don't think you start thinking about a kingside pawn rush here when you have a win on the board. You know what I mean? Like, this is about being practical. When you're up a piece, you know, you don't play for mate. You just trade the pieces off and win the game. And I see a lot of people, you know, they're up a piece, they take an exchange, giving the opponent counterplay. If you're up enough material, you don't need to win more. You know, you just win the game. You don't give the other guy counter chances for no reason, you know. When you're up a clear pawn on the queen side, you just queen the pawn. You know, you don't try to play for a mate on the other side of the board. Unless it's really, really justified. Mule Skinner, I already analyzed your game. You're going to have to watch the replay. I did wait until 5:30, but I didn't know if you were going to make it. It was an interesting game. So, knight e5. So, he's surrounding this pawn on c5 now. Luckily, you locked it down. And you're still winning. Black has some counterplay on the d file. There's the back rank mate. And then queen f6. Queen c7. Still, he's passive. I mean, here at this point, Jim can actually start to think about principle of two weaknesses. I mean, it does look like you have something on the king side at this point. But I would try to torture him with both advantages. g4, very weakening move, but he wants to stop rook f5. He's starting rook d1. I mean, this is serious, you know, and he gets his king g2. Okay, there's maybe no choice here. Okay. Now we're at a point where your passed pawn on the queen side is no longer really an extra pawn, in a sense, because he's blockaded it. Has the quality improved? And also the lag seems to be not existing. You're not here very often now, Mule Skinner, I guess, with the time, with my streaming, you know, American evening time, but maybe my internet is better. Well, I mean, last year I was using a different machine. I don't know if you're comparing to my last year's summer stream. But here at this point now, Jim, this is a situation where your queenside pawn isn't that big a factor anymore. So now you have to change your mentality to really focusing on the king side, it looks like. He froze your queenside pawn. The situation has changed. And you're justified in this. This is an ugly move, man. Rook g1. Rook g1. That is not the first square I would consider. Looks like a mouse slip. Rook h1. Maybe, you know, we could possibly think about h4, h5. Or a safe move like rook f1, protecting the f2. That's probably about the shape of it. Rook g1 was really... Rook g1 is really random. You see, that's where we'd be happier with an f1 rook right now. But he's starting to generate real threats with queen c6. I mean, now we're almost regretting that we played g4 and we started attacking. It's an option for me. A 5 to 10 second delay. It is an interesting option. This is like miscalculation. Does he have queen? No. Okay. He doesn't have queen c6 because of queen e5. Or maybe he does. You know, maybe he has some fancy tactics. Queen c6, queen e5, rook d5. I don't know. Is that possible? Really weird. Rook d5 first. Family fork. Okay, now time is, it's just 2 minutes against 40 seconds. Yeah, you just... both start making tactical mistakes. But you get the picture with this game. What happened here? You know, what happened to your queenside majority that should have just won the game? You know what I mean? You didn't focus on your... You know, focus on your advantage. What was your advantage? It was 3-on-2, no compensation, queenside majority. And now it's like frozen because you let him play a5. It should have been b4, game over, you know, earlier. Eventually there's some sort of tactical mistake here. You did reach this heavy piece endgame. Now it's down a rook. Okay. But anyway, to answer the question, I mean, I think, yeah, just, you got to take stock in what your advantage is and then work from there, you know. It just seems like you didn't really stick with the theme, which was the queen side. Yeah, one move threats, losing the thread. Not threat, but thread. Okay, anyway, thanks for submitting the game. Dragon BC is up next. Dragon BC, guys, thank you. He's one of the guys who submitted bit donations up to 500 this week. Please don't forget to support the stream. Buy my eBay stuff. Game analysis request. 2019. Okay. I'm not going to read that. I'd appreciate if you would analyze the following game of mine on today's stream. Playing with black. Okay. Check it out. Jim just donated 300. He reached the green level with 1100 for the week. Le favor. Like, I'm bad with French pronunciation. Sorry. Terrible. Never study French. Alright. So how was it? Van Croy's opening. E3. As I recommend everybody, German is worse. I didn't even attempt to say words in German. So E3, E5, yeah. My high school, in order to learn German, you had to like wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and take a bus to another school or something. Not too many people were into that, so it was basically either Spanish or French. I did Spanish. Then in college, I made the stupid decision to study Russian, which was like the most idiotic thing I ever did. I could have been a master of Spanish and actually had like a useful language. Instead, I'm bad at 2 languages now. E3, E5, C3. What is that? Fuchsia says that Russian is a nice language. That's a nice thought for Independence Day. Today is our national holiday here in the United States, and actually I live most of the year in Hungary, so I'm an expat, but I'm not a big patriotic person. We are going to end the stream a little bit early this week, this Thursday stream a little earlier than usual because I have to go take my kids and family to watch a fireworks display. That'll be fun. I'm anti-American. No, I'm just anti-nationalist, let's say. E3, E5, C3. Like, only in the United States do people have, like, flag poles in their front yards. You know, I mean, it's very strange, honestly. Once I've lived in Europe for 15 years, I realized how strange it is that people have flag poles in their front yard. It's like, what do you think? It's like it's like the embassy or something. Like, it's really weird. E3, E5. It's okay to be patriotic, but taking it too far. E3, E5, C3. The people that put their flags on their cars and stuff, it's going a little too far. So what is C3? It's like a Caro-Kann. You have flags in their yard. I mean, I could see like on a holiday or something. I don't think like Germans have like flag poles in their yards. But anyway, C3, E4. Interesting move. He's played E4. So this is going a little bit too far from black here. Right. We're not talking about like extremists here. I'm just talking about like general normal people. You know, Europeans don't put flags in their yards. It's pretty weird. I don't think the Van Croy is bad, but the C3 is bad. Actually, there's an interesting way to play this for white. Like knight C3, D5, D4. Oh no, Queen H5. That's it. This is kind of a cool line. Fuchsia's here. We'll ask her. Have you ever seen this? This is kind of a fun variation. Bukhavshin. I mean, it's okay to maybe hang your flag like on your house or something, like hanging on a pole or something. I'm talking about people who have like the full-fledged like giant pole like installed in their yard, you know, like it's like a school building or something like that. It's like it's going a little bit too far. Queen H5. Everyone like in this country hangs out a flag like on a pole, maybe like next to their door or something, as a honoring the flag or something. There are people who take it a step further. Anyway, this is weird. Van Croy's opening E3, E5, C3. Very absurd move. But I don't think you should play E4. I think you should just develop your pieces here. Basically. Dragon. E4 is cool. It's going a little bit too far. Queen A4. Knight F6. D3. E takes D, bishop takes D3, G6. This is fine, but white is fine too, you know? You see what happened when you played E4? I mean, what ends up happening is by playing E4, you let white like undermine your center, you know? I think this is a mistake. So, you should leave the pawn there. You allowed white to equalize, basically, Dragon. Now it's looking like some kind of Scandinavian with colors reversed. Okay, I mean, totally reasonable position. White now plays... white now plays Queen B4. What is Queen B4? This is a horrendous move. Queen B4, absurd. Knight C6, waste of tempo. Another tempo. Another tempo. And Dragon resists the temptation to play H6 here. I don't see any reason to play H6. Castles, and now E4. We have a king on E1. We have a pawn on E4. We have a highway down the E line. So let's just take. Always take. One of my friends, Zlatko Linčić. Knight takes E4. Why not just play this? You're going to win it back, right? Let's see. Maybe there's a problem with this line. Bishop E4, rook E8. No, this is fine. You can actually recapture with the knight on D8. Dragon. This is a really neat way to win the game. Uber Driver suggests rook E8. Okay, rook E8. You want to be mundane. Uber Driver is just being mundane. It is fine to play rook E8, Uber Driver. It's a very, very strong and very mundane move. I just want to be letting everyone know that this is a cool and creative tactic. It is possible. Rook E8 here, knight E4. Queen d8, knight, and we win that. Now he takes, but shouldn't white try to pin it and win it? What do we do if rook e1 here? Do we play d5, f5, bishop f5, or retreat the knight back to f6? At least rook e1 would pose some sort of way for, you know, for black to possibly go wrong. Bishop takes e4, though. This is compounding white's problems. He's down a pawn with no compensation, and now he's giving up a bishop for a knight in an open position for absolutely no reason. So this makes it worse, makes his position like significantly worse than it already was, effectively. Right. No, I think like the safest move, if this were to happen, Dragon, would have been to play knight f6. Like, definitely. Break the pin, you know, you probably get your knight kicked back to e8, but that's okay. You know, we're just up a pawn for nothing. It's not an automatic win for black, but white is a little bit ahead in development, but it doesn't seem very significant in this position. Plus, you don't have any weaknesses. There are like almost no weaknesses in black's position at all whatsoever. So I like this. Very solid. But he gave you that bishop. Terrible. Well, the dark squared bishop, you know, it is a little blocked by the c3 pawn, but it could work in the endgame. Knight c6, knight on bd2. Unfortunately, if we play rook e2, we can't really support that rook. So we're probably going to have to come back. This may have been a mistake. Objectively. Like, maybe it doesn't have that much of an effect, but I would play rook e8 because he's going to challenge the e-file anyway, and you're probably going to have to play, like, you know, bishop f5 or something like that. Rook e8 is better. And then here you can activate. Why is it not letting me make a move? Okay. Can I make another move now? Okay, rook. Speaking of lag, I think lag just affected me. Like, this Dragon probably best. Since you can't support your rook on e2, it's not a good idea. It just feels active. But you have to think a couple moves ahead sometimes. I didn't consider the idea of white actually trapping the rook at e2. But he could. He could play bishop e3 and then move the rook and play like king f1. Potentially trap your rook. You're being too aggressive with your pieces, in a sense. Yeah, so you're up a pawn, man. Just consolidate. Rook e8. It's kind of like Jim's game, you know? Once you're up a pawn or more, like a very significant amount of material at the master level, usually winning the game enough, one pawn, by the way, in more cases than not, at the master or grandmaster or international master level, start consolidating. You know, you don't need to increase your advantage necessarily. It should be enough, this one pawn. Karpov liked to put pieces on squares where they can't be touched, you know, and obviously Karpov has like the greatest sense of danger in next to like Ulf Anderson or something, you know. There's no way you're going to get Karpov to like get his rook trapped on e2. There was the one case where Larry Christensen like forked two of Karpov's knights. Somehow, some freak game where Larry tricked Karpov into putting two knights on unprotected squares and beat him in like 18 moves. I don't know how many moves it was. Queen d1. Yeah, it was retreating move back to d1. I don't remember exactly where the knights were. It was a very unusual thing for Karpov to allow that, you know. Almost never happened. All right, Asterbait, we'll see you when you get back. Bishop e3, bishop d7 here. h6, not a bad prophylactic move. I like g5. When you have two bishops, you want to use the flank pawns to expand. And I like the idea of g5, Dragon, to kick that knight away from the center. a6 I'm not as excited about. It's not a bad move. Alright, it just takes the pawn out of take. I don't know what knight's doing on f1. White played very badly. King h7 is a debatable move. You know, it's not clear if you're getting further from the center or closer to the center. I'm liking a5, that's alright. I'm liking g5 here, though, and bringing the king up in active deployment. You got two bishops, start using the wing pawns. Maybe you should have played a5 directly, Dragon. I like g5, great. Man, this is brilliant. Like, I would play king g6 here and just hammer him with my pawns. You'd take away all the squares for the enemy pieces. There's a famous game and a great book on most destructive chess games ever played by Chernev. There's a game in there from, oh, who was it? Bondarevsky? I can't remember now. Black plays like g5, 2 bishops. Very nice game. So, just look up the game from the most destructive chess games ever played by Chernev, where I think it's Bondarevsky involved in the game. King g6 is a good move. You can start playing on the white squares. He doesn't have a white square bishop, so it's like a Q. I mean, on h4, you have probably f5. Actually, it doesn't work. All right. So let's not be fancy. We'll play f5 first, and then we'll threaten f4. And Wei will be doing some crazy stuff with like sacking a piece for 2 pawns. Nah, this is over. So let's see what Dragan did in the actual game. What is actual game? I'm like out on a tangent here, actually. What am I looking at? This didn't happen in the game. Rook e2, rook e1, rook e1, rook e1, bishop e6, a4. Okay, here we are. So the actual game, I don't know what I was analyzing, some sort of computer analysis there. I thought that was the actual game. I'm like, hey, you played well, Dragan. No, this was not the actual game. We were looking at some analysis variation. I don't know where it came from. Rook e1, bishop e6, a4, a6. We got to that point, right? Knight e4, it was similar. The analysis variation was similar, but not the same. This is still good. Yeah, Dragan, I was confused. I don't know where that variation even came from. I guess you did like computer analysis. You had computer analyze the game, and it stuck in some sort of computer line. And I started assuming that that was the game continuation. So you actually didn't play that way. You put your rook on e2, and it could have gotten trapped by bishop e3. That's the first problem. Then he plays rook over and king f1. And you better find a way to, you know, play like maybe b6, bishop a6, or bishop f5, bishop d3. It's very possible you have to sack an exchange. I really like the way the computer played that, though. Rook e1, bishop e6. Here, a4, a6. I like a5 better. Why is it I like a5 better? Maybe something about the pawn being on a white square. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have a white square bishop. It seems like that way that becomes a target for you to attack later in the future. A6, knight e4. He's not going anywhere. Uh-oh. Oh, man, this is going to be a problem. Damn. Okay, so Dragan missed this knight e4. That's kind of annoying, getting in on f6. It looks like you had to play something like h6 first. Had you played h6 first, everything would have been okay. And that way you can play g5 if necessary. No, there's no f6, Bob, because of the bishop is hanging. f6 would be a consideration, though. In all seriousness. Like, I wanted to play f6, and I was like, okay, my bishop's hanging. But, you know, to answer Bob seriously, f6 is a consideration. I don't mind blocking this bishop temporarily in an endgame. You know, I'm happy to play f6, king f7, h6, g5, whatever. But, yeah, you just missed knight e4. And once he sticks a piece on f6, it's going to be kind of difficult to get yourself untangled. Yeah, now there's some serious considerations. Now your king is forced on the side of the board. We're not happy about that, but we are threatening h6 winning a piece. So luckily, it's all okay. Maybe white should have played like bishop f6, ironically. Wonder. That doesn't seem so great either, actually. So I guess at the end of the day, there's no problem. Even though your king gets driven to the side of the board, it's just a temporary issue. h3, h6. And then your opponent just lost his mind and gave you a piece. I don't know what he's thinking. Again, rook e4, rook h4, or what's happening here? Yeah. I mean, another good move is like maybe bishop f4, I would think. You can always put the bishop on e5. You're up a piece now, no problem. And this is good to trade pieces. A good practical thing to do. When you're up a piece, trade pieces. Don't play for mate. The more pieces on the board, the bigger the chance that there'll be some sort of accident, you know? You think he couldn't save the knight without giving away the bishop? You're right. You know what? You're right. Yeah, I mean, his h3 is a blunder. So he has to pull the knight away immediately. I mean, maybe there was a better way for him to sacrifice the piece, though. Like, after h3, h6, he can go bishop h4 on g5. Seems like he should be able to get at least two pawns for the piece. I don't know. Knight g5, bishop f6, knight e6, or knight f7. Check, bishop f7, bishop f6, something like that. He's down a pawn initially, so now he's only got one pawn for a piece. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's lost. Once he blunders with h3. But it was a pretty clean game for black. I mean, I think you were winning all the way. You know. I don't think you made any major mistakes, essentially. There's not enough pieces left for him to, like, trick you or something here. And again, trading pieces is always good. You just got to make sure there's enough pawns left. That's the only thing you can do wrong in a situation like this, is let the enemy trade off all the pawns. Because bishop and knight and rook against rook and knight is probably a draw. I think I actually had that in a game against Dennis Strenswilk, this master who passed away like last year. And I tried for like 25 moves to do something, like rook and bishop and knight against rook and knight, but it was like all to no avail. I couldn't force a win. I just sort of tortured him for like 25 moves. But that's the one thing that can go wrong. Don't let him trade off all the pawns. Right, he found the tactic here. When you found a counter shot. No, you didn't. So you had rook check, forcing him to e3. And then knight e3 check, and then bishop takes g5. It's kind of hard to work that all out. First to check with the rook, you force him up, then he plays king g2, then you play knight e3 check, then he moves his king, then you take his knight, and he can't play rook g4 or rook f5. You probably end up 2 pieces up. But this is obviously good enough. Now he's like harassing you, and there goes another pawn. And now we start to worry, because you're dangerously close to the kind of endgame that I was talking about. You know, if he trades off one more pawn, you're going to not be able to win, essentially. What? Wow. So rook takes d6. Rook takes d6, bishop e3 check, and rook takes c7. So he plays knight e6. What if he plays rook takes h6 here? He just has rook takes h6. You blundered. I guess this was time pressure. He's down to 4 seconds, so it's silly to really criticize anyone here. He blundered in time pressure. Both sides blundered in time pressure. That would have been the last pawn, though. Just don't get mated, no matter what you do. Now it's under control. I was just wondering what this was from. Was this from our... No, this was from our rated game. Okay. So the opening was good, the middle game was good, but the end game you started to kind of lose the thread in the time pressure. What was that opening again? Yeah, I mean, this is a mistake, though, I think objectively, playing e4 for you. That's a significant mistake. You know, you're overreaching and overextending yourself with e4. And I mean, white played a bad opening. You should equalize easily with something like knight c6 or even just d5. What is it? Is it Caro-Kann or a French? You know, it's like both. It's like playing c6, e6 for black. It's not a good opening. It's like a bad French. Okay, guys, we're closing in on the last 2 games here. I Take Back and Bob. It's a Caro French. Thank you guys for supporting the stream, particularly Jim today. He donated 1,100 bits this week. Thanks to Anita and Dragon BC. Delacorda, never odd or even. Guys, don't forget to check out my second job, my random items for sale on eBay. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't share the items, try to sell them wherever I can try to sell them. So I normally don't share random stuff here on the stream, but that's my eBay stuff for sale. Tell your grandmother about it. Maybe she'll buy something. We've got books. We've got Napster hats. Dragon BC, thank you for the 500 donation. All right, E3, E5. This is the old game. Let's go to our next game. We've got I Take Back and then Bob remaining. Game to go over if you have extra time. I don't need the extra time. You're on time. Take Back. Dragon BC donated 500 bits. I said that already. St. George defense. Cool. I love the St. George. This is Take Back versus Grim Counter. St. George isn't really a sound opening, but it's fun. Okay. E4, A6. Knight F3. It's kind of like the same thing with the Owens defense I said earlier with Asterbate's game, where White played Knight F3 on move 2. It's not really critical. It's probably more accurate to play D4. Yeah, Bob, good suggestion for selling the used books on Amazon. Good suggestion. I'm just kind of like disorganized and I'm disorganized and crazy, like trying to do a lot of stuff, and I'm not very systematic. But thank you for that idea. Of course, it's a good suggestion. They're probably worth $2 to $5. E4, A6. I just put them up. I don't know. I'll check it. Knight F3, B5, D4. I got like a ton of like coffee table books and stuff like that like old people should buy. So, but I'm not sure eBay is the best place to sell them. Yeah, I'll have to think of other ideas. D4, E6, Bishop D3, Bishop B7. We've transposed to one of the most common variations. I will say here, I take back that I like, you know, personally, I like to play D4, B5, Bishop D3. Same thing against Owen defense, and now like Queen E2. Uber Driver said sometimes I like pawn on F3. That's something I don't know a lot about, but I think it's a valid, you know, some sort of valid setups with the pawn on F3. I have faced that on occasion. Your parents had the entire collection. Yeah, I'm trying to sell that collection. I'd be happy if I could sell it at all. Knight C3, Bishop B7. You know, they sold as like Time Life books on TV when I was a little kid. I don't even know how we got it, and we definitely didn't buy it. I think my mom accumulated it later. F3. She probably bought it at a thrift shop. Yeah, F3 is a reasonable way to play. So basically, I'm just trying to sell stuff that's a little too good to like donate, but we'll see what happens. My second job, guys, selling random stuff on wherever I can. So you like F3? That's fine. I never really played F3. Again, I recommend B5, Bishop D3, Bishop B7, and Queen E2. Queen E2 is opposite the king, and it gives us some interesting tactical motifs. In other words, when Black plays E6, there are going to be situations where Black will play C5 in the future, and you can actually go, you know, maybe not this position, let's say after C3. There are situations where you play D5 very effectively because of the line here. My first job, teaching you guys how to play chess, teaching people how to play chess, being a passive player. I found the whole, my wife found a whole bag of all my like game scores, and she was like, "What are we gonna do with this stuff? We're gonna throw it out?" I was like, "What are you doing? This is my like life's my life's work. You know, she was gonna like throw away a bag of all my like score sheets and stuff. I was like, oh my god, my baby, thousands of game scores from my career. But anyway, I like the queen e2, you know, being present on the e file here. Some people, you told eBay you want the tank. c3, knight c6, d5. It'd be good for blowing it up like Toy Story in the backyard with firecrackers or something. Speaking of which, all right, it's an hour till fireworks. The guy with the straw hat dropped out when he was a senior at Harvard. His parents still did that. Dude, he's a millionaire. His parents were like loaded. I mean, it doesn't matter. He knew he would be a millionaire like all of his life. So they probably didn't like it either. But, you know, he basically inherited like tons and tons of money. Who needs Harvard anyway when you can inherit lots of money? The Napster hat is very tempting. There's lots of those. This one is very valuable. Okay, guys, let's check it out anyway. Bishop b7, castles, knight f6, knight bd2. So black played d5. I mean, I don't really like d5. When I play the St. George, the idea is to play c5 and play dynamically. If you play d5, you just end up playing like a bad French for black. Probably I'm charging too much for the Napster hat. I could have already sold it for 15 bucks, but I passed. The thing is, I want to say about this position, Miles' argument for Tony Miles, who I knew a little bit, his argument for the St. George defense was that if you can induce a3, something like c5, c3, and then maybe like c takes d, knight b4, sorry, knight c6 with the idea of knight b4. If we can induce a3, then we can play d5, then we can play d5, e5, knight d7. This is, I have this from a very old source. I think it was like a really ancient pamphlet or something I found. The idea is that black can play knight a5. Well, this is what Miles claimed anyway. It's like, if we've induced a3, now we can play knight a5, and we can try to establish the knight on c4. So somehow this position is slightly more playable for black because of the inclusion of a3. Anyway, that's the idea. But still, it's probably better for white, even in this scenario. But by playing d5 right away, I think black has even less options. This guy, Carlo Rossi, who's a friend of mine, seems to play like every kind of weird opening. I noticed the other day I was going over games with Yobatis, and we saw him constantly playing like knight c6 on move 1. He's a winemaker. Son of a winemaker. He doesn't have to work either. Queen e2, bishop e7, and then a4. I think that if I were take back here, I would just... Okay, queen e2 maybe, but you're giving black a chance to take on e4. I mean, it almost seems like with queen e2, he's almost got a legit kind of... Queen d6, queen d8 Scandinavian. Like, it looks like you've played some kind of queen d8 Scandinavian. Yeah, no, the guy plays a Nimzovich. He plays knight c6 against d4. But anyways, maybe he's an Italian winemaker. I don't know. I would say you just go ahead and play e5. I mean, that would be my approach. That's what Fleer did, and Yaxland. I played in the Copenhagen European Poker Tour main event in the same time as this guy. I was like playing this poker tournament, and I realized, hey, didn't I play you in like a chess tournament? Let's see here what the best move is. e5. e5. No. The engine actually likes e takes d5. That's weird. I would think e5. I like it. If you don't like closed positions, okay, but I mean, white's going to have a really good chance to break out with f5 here. It's not called Carlo Rossi, is it? Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with something else. That's got to be a very common name. That's like Bob Smith in English. Oh, so Bob's got it. Carlo Rossi Sangria. The Bob Smith brew. Bishop e7, a4. All right. b4, c4. Whoa. Where did this move come from? John Smith's. You have to ask Nefedov. He's a fan of the British beers. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Negro Modelo lately. What's up with c4? Weird move, kind of. But I don't mind opening up the position. All right. It's reasonable. It's not like bad for white, obviously. I feel like black's gotten away with something a little bit here. But this move is like, wow, what? I mean, dude, you're lucky to be like playing this, what's it called? The St. George, and you're okay after 11 moves. To only be slightly worse, after 11 moves in the St. George is a tremendous result. Now black's playing knight d5, which is, yeah, I mean, you're behind the development. You're moving the same piece twice now, putting in a kind of a targeted square. Horrendous. I already, know that black's position from my experience is difficult to play, but knight d5 is not going to help. This is interesting. It wouldn't have been my first move. I'm looking at the king side more, but I understand here. Maybe take back's looking at g7 here. Very awkward move. I would first prefer like queen c8, though then white has rook b1 and probably forces bishop c6 anyway. It's a forced variation. Maybe he goes for the bishop now. Yeah, okay. I like this, actually, take back. You're looking at a6. Of course, when you play a4, very often that's what happens to black in this opening. He just ends up losing because of the extended fianchetto getting busted. I like the way that you played, though. You just kind of kept attention. You didn't trade pieces. Now he fatally weakens his e6 pawn, though it's difficult to suggest. It's kind of difficult to suggest a better move. I mean, maybe like as ugly as it is, bishop e8, the Steinitzian, I call it the Steinitzian school of defense. I mean, this is ugly, but it's still maybe black's best move. As sick as that looks. Not really where you wanted to end up there. Now this is over. I mean, the white square weaknesses is like this diagonal, this diagonal, this diagonal, this piece hanging, the e6 hanging, like the whole thing just collapses on the white squares. Black is lost strategically, I think. Although there are certainly like no automatic win for white necessarily. It looks to me like it should be over. Take back was focused on the a pawn, kind of a minimalistic approach, but it's good. He says minus 2.3 here. Yeah, for black, like for white. Mine doesn't say that high. Mine says white is better by 1.2, which is surprisingly modest for Stockfish. I was thinking it would be +2. Like the previous move was bigger advantage. Funny. Check it out. Stockfish wants to play knight f3. That is insane. It literally wants to retreat the knight, saying how bottled up black is. Wow. Of course, there's a lot of calculation that goes into that. It's a 20 move line. It's depth 17 out of 21. It's definitely counterintuitive. I mean, it looks like I would have taken on c6 myself. So take back's focusing on the a pawn. Win the a pawn, win the game. Pass pawn, 2 bishops. It looks good. I like queen a2. We're eyeing this diagonal. You went to c2, also good. There's that as well. I can't draw a straight line, but you know what I'm talking about. And black does play f5. What's wrong with taking? Taking what? Taking what? Chess sobriety test. I'm not drinking. I gotta drive, so I'm not drinking. A5. Oh, nothing the C6 before. So F5 is a good move under the circumstances, but fatally weakening the backwardness along the E file. Oh, the straight line joke. I get it. I can't draw a straight line. Now I understand. I'm a little slow. Bishop G5. Funny, I talked about the same kind of move today with one of my other students, one of my private students, and it's ironic, isn't it? Like, that's black's good bishop, and it's white's bad bishop, and black's like trying to trade it off. But I think at this point, black simply ran out of ideas. Like, his A6 pawn is just hanging, so he probably should protect it. Like, rook A8, as pathetic as that is. Then you just pile up. Not a good advertisement for the St. George defense, was this? So now let's just take a pawn. But maybe we can improve on Jim's earlier game if we can see take back just simply, you know, stay with the focus plan, win the pawn on the queen side, win the game using that pawn. Oh, that was a miscalculation. So now he lost the tempo. Still not so easy. You know, you see it's going to be hard to get the pawn through A7. So that's when we come up with the principle of two weaknesses starting to come into play. Oftentimes one is not enough, and that might have happened in Jim's game as well at some point. That it wouldn't have been enough, that queenside pawn, so you tie the opponent down and you start alternating between threats against two different weaknesses. That's what white needs to do here now. He starts to focus on E6, basically has one major advantage on the queen side and now a secondary advantage focusing on the E6 pawn. I'm a little concerned about that pawn, but it can go to A6. So this is weakening. Man, the engine comes up with a great move here, but difficult to find over the board. Knight C1. That's a really awesome maneuver where the knight gets back in the game with knight C1 to D3, knight C5. This is a nice move, but on the fly, it's like, okay, it is kind of the only place for the thing to go, actually. That would have been a nice move. He traded on D5. Black has to take with the pawn. And now F3. This was a safe approach. But you're still going to have to play knight C1. It's kind of the only way, the only place to go. He did find it. Now there's nice counterplay by black, though. We got to give him credit. Who was this? The Grim Counter, 1990. He did a good job, like, finding any sort of counterplay, actually. Now you've got knight F4, though. That's going to put him away. Then he's got knight C4. Oh, my God. So we can't take on F4, knight C4. Wow. Take back sacked in exchange here. I mean, I think you're going a little too far here. But this is a time-related decision, maybe, I don't know. You can make this exchange sacrifice. I think it's unnecessary. Like, Karpov isn't going to sack the exchange here on E3. You've got to be very patient. The position is starting to get very difficult. I mean, probably that's going to be G2. You're going to have to play rook E2. You're going to have to defend very carefully against some counterplay by the opponent. And the position is becoming very difficult to win. But he just takes it out, and I think it's okay. You know, I don't think that you're worse, but unfortunately, I think this is probably like a draw. You know, you have enough compensation for the exchange. You have a strong knight coming to E5, but I think you've lost your advantage now. So you're like bailing out at this point, you know. It's like equal. Let's see what the computer says. The engine still thinks white is better. Okay, nice. Materially, it's 2 pawns and a knight for a rook, which is 5 points of material. Who has the initiative? White has the passed pawn, I mean, on the A file, you know, and that's pretty... There's a crazy bird outside. That's pretty, you know, powerful. But I don't really see, you know, White's second front. I mean, what are we going to do? We'll have a knight on e5. We're pushing the a-pawn down. The a-pawn gets blockaded. And then it's kind of like, looks like it's going to kind of run out of steam. You can try to push your pawns up on the king side. You're going to have to be very careful not to overextend yourself. So, let's see what happened here. He actually went wrong and lost. I mean, this is a strange move. You know, I mean, rook e8 seems stupid. But now, I mean, take back played the queen move. Isn't the whole point to, like, put your knight on e5 here? I don't understand, you know. You're better. You could even play f4. I don't think there's any question that black shouldn't win, you know. I mean, I know he wanted to play knight c5 maybe, but let's be realistic now. The knight needs to go to e5. It's like a barrier. I know. The idea was to not lose the pawn, but at the end of the day, this becomes, like, more important. You should be able to generate some threats on the king side. If he, like, goes over there, tries to take the pawn, how's he going to win your pawn? Like, seriously. How is he going to win the a5 pawn? Rook a8, and then what? Where's the other way he's going to attack it? Queen a6, queen b5? I mean, those moves take a lot of time. You ought to be able to generate some sort of threats by then. I mean, maybe like queen g5, queen g4, queen e6 check, h4, h5, h6. I just gut instinct, you know, but I think that white is okay here. Stockfish says that white is slightly better. What's the best move, though? So, the computer agrees with you with queen d2. Okay, I mean, to be fair, you don't have to play knight e5, but you can. Queen d2, queen g6. Now he's threatening this. So rook takes f3, a7 is a serious problem for black. Or is it? Rook takes f3, a7. Rook takes d3. What's going on? Rook takes f3, knight e5. And then rook takes f3, knight e5, and then a7. And probably white is. Yeah, I mean, knight e5 is just strong. So he plays rook a8. And now knight c5. The problem with your knight on c5, though, I mean, it protects the a-pawn, but it doesn't do anything else, you know? The knight doesn't participate in any other programs from c5. It's good enough to hold a draw, probably. Wow. So ironically, like knight e5, computer wants to sack its queen with rook a6, knight g6, rook a1 check, and white is better. I think this is your mistake, you know, the knight is offsides a little bit. It's not centralized here. So he has rook takes f3. And so it's just a story of the centralized knight being better than a knight on c5. Queen e2, rook c3. Black has no threat here. And so I don't see anything wrong with a7. Queen f6. So that's a threat. Black's threatening rook takes c5. He's also threatening queen d4. Uber Driver says, why not rook c2? This pawn. I suppose queen f3, and then what? Like c6? Can we play rook f1? I I mean, that's not even going to be enough, though, right? Knight d7. The Oracle says black is winning now. So Uber Driver's correct. It looks like after rook f3, you were in trouble. And you have to find like perfect moves not to lose. But I mean, the really, I think, decisive point was how strong the knight is on e5. I don't think it should be. Again, I think you can attack on both sides of the board with the knight on e5. It's just all over the place, you know. All right, guys, I've got one more game I'm going to do, and then we've got to go for today. I started early. I've got to finish early today. Bob Sack. Who's that? Bob Sack, Harvard's defense against myself. White resigned. There were more moves. Well, I don't know if you wanted to see the end. Let's see. So knight c5, rook f3, queen e2, rook c3. I'm assuming you're just lost here. a7, queen f6. I mean, this just looks lost to me. Queen f2. Maybe it's not that easy, I guess. I was just assuming this is over. Wow, black played rook c2. Well, what happens if you trade queens? I mean, that's obviously your only chance. There's just like technical ending down the exchange. Even with the pawn on a7, you're tied down to that pawn. This has to be a win for black. Lichess chess. So nothing to see there. I mean, you queen e3, rook takes c5. Yeah, it's a secondary threat. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, but I have to go. I take back, so I'm trying to get to the last game. Drawn now. Okay, we'll go back again. It's drawn now. Rook b1. I did not see that. So you resigned. I would have resigned too. Never give up the hope. Wow. Rook b1. Bob, don't start insulting the... Don't start insulting. You're being sarcastic. Okay, this is a nice move. I think I can be forgiven for not seeing this, you know. I'm not a all-seeing computer, but and I don't try to use the engine all the time. Obviously the idea, you know, would have existed. But you have to see like rook a7, rook, you know, rook b8 check, king f7. The first of all is this mate, you know, which is really nice. That justifies the whole thing. It is shocking. Black doesn't have a useful move here. So he's just going to have to sacrifice a rook for a queen, basically. So, like, yeah, I mean, move the rook somewhere. He'll have to let you have a new queen, though. That's not going to work. How does this work? Actually, he has to be careful. You know, he could even lose. Queen f8. What does black have to do here? If there was any time pressure, it would be very hard to find a defense for black here. Yeah, good point, Jim. I guess I'd play queen f8 in a pinch if I could find nothing else. But after that, it looks like white might be better. Maybe not. Maybe that's our line. Computer doesn't like queen f8. Is there a secret move here? Okay, it's playable. It holds. You're so shocked by rook takes c5, you resigned. I don't blame you. You overlook a move like that, it's hard to recover emotionally. But the best move is king f7, apparently. And then that's sort of surprising. That leads to a very imbalanced situation where we now get queen for 2 rooks. Queen f1, king f1, and rook a5. It's going to be a fortress draw. Alright guys, finally I'm going to go to the last game. I'm sorry, I got to go. It's Bob Thursday analysis against me. Ambulance. Oh, I played 18 cent upon loss. Looks like Bob was better. When did we play this game? This is from a week ago. The Wednesday simul. Okay, Bob is white. And I went to play d6 here, because I was joking about that, but I didn't actually do it. Bishop f4, knight f6. We go into the standard London system. Bob just playing the London system, because I asked people not to play the London system. b6, being spiteful. Bob played c4, I was happy to see that. Getting out of the London system routine with c4. It's now a Queen's Indian with bishop f4. And I think I mentioned that I played this line myself. So I decided to play a move that I knew Bob probably wouldn't know the book. Because the book move is counterintuitive. Again, thanks to Jim, Dragon BC, Anita for donating this week. Bishop e4 check. White's supposed to play knight on fd2. But unless you know like the theory of this variation, I mean, that's a very counterintuitive move for an amateur chess player to come up with if he doesn't know the line. Anyway, it's difficult to explain this move, but that's the main idea. Someone on sound is like, why? 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 Again, it's kind of difficult to explain. It maybe has partly to do with like maybe preventing knight h5. I mean, that's a useful side effect of the move. This won't be an option to like trap our London system bishop, I guess, over there. Knight on bd2. It's still not a bad move. Castles, bishop d3. Yeah, this is passive. I'm actually surprised that some good people played this, like Nabati. I don't know why you would choose to put the bishop on e2 rather than put it on d3 in this position. It's very difficult for me to understand that. It just feels more passive than putting it on d3. Less exposed, maybe, but you really want to fight for the center. So this is strange. And I missed knight h5 now. Not played in any games. Let's see. Knight h5. Best move according to Stockfish. Kind of logical. Trapping that bishop. Let's see now. Okay. So I played d6. This is a theoretical novelty. Trying to play it like a Bogo Indian. And we got a Bogo Indian position. I mean, it could even be a transposition. Knight on bd7. Castles. Queen e7. We transposed to Jakob Agard against Matheson. Danish Championship 1999. I guarantee you this was like a Bogo Indian. You don't like to isolate your d-pawn. I understand that. That's reasonable. So, Agard and Matheson. Matheson here played a5, which is also the #1 move of Stockfish. I went a different path. Of course, I can also play e5. Knight e4. Oh, you know the black player personally. He's not related to Richard Matheson. The author, spelled differently. Distant relative. Queen c2, and now f5. We transpose to a Harika game now with f5, and I didn't play it. I got distracted every single move. f5 was my original plan, and then I sort of kept changing plans midstream. e5 is also reasonable. Bishop h2. And now knight g5. Playing for cheapos. And Bob closed the line with d5, which is reasonable. I played this. Knight g5, queen g5, and a very good move by Bob f4. So now we have a very typical situation in the BOGO where the dark square bishop, actually the bishop pair, I mean this piece is usually over here on b2. That would be the best. If you have the bishop on b2 or c3, it's like bearing down the long diagonal from b2 to h8. On h2, it's a little harder to get into the game, but I honestly here thought that I was slightly worse. That was my feel, you know. My bishop on b7, it's difficult to get it into the game. c6 is very anti-positional. And now, you know, so I'm stuck with this kind of bad piece. But on the other hand, Bob's got this backwardness along the E file as a consequence of what he did. White is the famous writer. Famous writer. Oh, I was joking about, like, you know, I Am Legend and Matheson, the American writer. But Jacob Agard is of course a famous chess writer. I didn't really pick up on that. So queen h6, b4, and then rook e8. Bob apparently has like, does rook f3 make sense? Rook f3 is kind of weird. I don't know. Rook f3 looks kind of awkward. I was happy with my queen on h6 because I don't want him to play like g4, honestly. I don't really want to see g4. Another idea I learned from Georgi Kashishvili, which isn't applicable just yet, but it's an idea that might happen down the line. Sometimes black can play b5 in this type of structure. Obviously here it would be a problem because it would weaken the c7 pawn and I would lose along the c line. But in this type of structure I've seen in the Nimzo, Kashishvili got this, the one time he beat me, he was able to do b5 in a similar structure. That move can be devastating because the d5 pawn gets undermined. It just kind of falls apart. But here it doesn't work because I would lose on c7, I think. Just it's an idea I wanted to point out. My main concern is like g4 ultimately would be a strong move for white, maybe. But my focus here for black is along the e line. Well, I mean, Anand, you know, he's already lost his motivation a long time ago. I mean, honestly, I was so bored with Anand's efforts in the World Championships he supposedly played with Magnus Carlsen. I really don't have a lot of interest in watching him play. I guess in Rapid he still might be interesting. So now Bob played a really interesting pawn. Speaking of interesting, this is kind of crazy what he did. I mean, he played rook d1, I took an f4, and he just like ignored it. You know, obviously that's a strange thing to do. I mean, you should recapture on f4. And it looks like you can take back either way. Although bishop takes f4, I'm pretty sure I was intending to play g5. It would weaken my king side, but the bishop is a bit strangely placed, actually. It's a Nimzovician type position, and the bishops are quiet here. Maybe you have to take with the pawn so as not to lose a pawn. But then this bishop is really prison. It's prison. It's going to have to get back in the game and get to d4 somehow. So the e file is good for black. And Bob created chaos with c5. This is a kind of classic pawn sacrifice in Bogo Indian Nimzo type positions. Black's bishop is a good bishop that's having a bad day. Technically. But b takes c5, bishop b5. Bob tries to get tactical. And then I didn't consider this move, f takes e3. I just defended. Apparently that's a mistake. Rook f4, knight e5. And so the game is very interesting. The engine has it about close to equal, white being slightly better. And so this is the point where, I don't know why I played rook ef7. Oh, I just had to protect f5. Okay, I was intending to play bishop c8 anyway. But I guess I like the fact that the bishop is keeping an eye on the d5 pawn. You had a winning move in there, but they didn't do it? A winning move? You had a winning move? Oh, apparently earlier. A winning... Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it a winning move, but it's a very strong move. And this isn't quite winning. I mean, it's like plus 1.3. It's like you would have an advantage, maybe. But you like win a pawn, but I'm not sure it's that simple, you know. It really depends. I don't think that we analyze this deep enough with the computer. But I wouldn't go as far as to say it was winning. Like an advantage to white, probably. John Mack, welcome to the stream. So you missed your best shot. Yeah, winning the a pawn would be good. But now knight e5, bc, rook f7. And what happened now? c6, you forced me back to c8. Obviously this bishop is not so good anymore. Blocked by the f5 pawn. I mean, that's the King's Indian player's nightmare. But if I can play g5 and f4, it busts out. So that's what I did. This is to free my bishop. And f4. The engine doesn't like this move. I didn't really analyze this post-game, but apparently I'm making a terrible mistake. Like, the f-pawn becomes overextended. But here I had just 3 minutes. Bob had just 1 minute. I mean, you know, it's a natural enough move. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that can attack that pawn on f4, apparently. Alright, so pawn takes pawn, and now queen e4 looked like the most natural move in the world. But Bob had queen d2, which would have pinned me. I totally missed that. And then I have to go passive with knight g6, and it looks like white is slightly better. Ultimately, maybe he can win a pawn, like knight g6, bishop d3, eliminate that piece, and win a pawn. From my perspective, I would be happy to draw if I could just maybe reach an opposite color bishop endgame, down a pawn or something like that. That would be good enough for me. Look, queen g5, bishop g6, maybe like queen g6. I mean, I'd love to trade all the pieces off if I could. Problem is I don't see the queens leaving the board necessarily. I mean, this sort of situation with opposite color bishops would have a drawish sort of tendency to it. But again, a lot of chances to go wrong as well. So Bob played queen e4, which looked like a natural move. And what did I do? Queen g6. Rook f4. He didn't play rook f4. He could just win a pawn there. I forgot, I think. I just simply forgot the bishop was protecting the rook on f1, I guess. But I was in time pressure in all my games. So still, there's no reason for white to lose. But I like this exchange for black. And I want to trade off his bishop pair. Apparently this is the decisive moment now, where he has to play like bishop c4, bishop e2. Don't want to trade your bishop pair. And the d5 pawn becomes weak now after this. Bob drops the d5 pawn. I mean, maybe you should hold on to that. So rook f3, rook d5, and now this is weak. And the rook endgame is probably winning, I would assume. Not sure we can trust the stockfish analysis here. Let's see, rook a4. I missed a5. I just took. And so rook takes c7. I mean, I don't trust the engine here because I'm not sure its depth can actually go far enough to analyze this position properly. You'd have to ask an expert. I mean, on the other hand, there's some strength to this outside pawn. I mean, I'm assuming I'm better here. You know, I'm clearly better, maybe almost winning because of the 2 connected pass pawns. But depth 21, Stockfish thinks I'm only a tiny bit better. Again, I'm not sure that we can trust chess engines to evaluate rook and pawn endgames, because the depth might be necessary of like 30, 35 or more moves in this position. Till those pawns become queens, we haven't analyzed, you know, far enough. Let's see where it really got clear. You sort of wasted time there, allowing me to play d5. So Bob's sort of blundering tempi. And obviously this is lost. You go into king of pawn. So the best moment for this endgame for Bob was really like, let's say here, you know, king f2, around here, king e6, and now he needs to play optimally. King e3, I played king e5, and now finding the best way for white to play. I mean, it's not that simple. But it looks like it may really be a draw. It's not so simple, like king d3. My rook is in front of the pawn. This is not the best position for the rook to be. I mean, I'm definitely of the opinion that black is seriously better here, despite whatever Stockfish says. I have no risk of losing, and I think I'm playing for a win. But it may very well be a draw. It's really too difficult, too deep for me to say. It's a complex endgame, very imbalanced. Anyway, so Bob kind of lost some tempi here and ended up blundering. This is analysis variation, sorry. That's what I did with the other game. So d5 here, rook a4, rook check. And now here, and I mean, clearly you can't trade rooks. This is instructive, though. The 2 connected pass pawns are just winning. They're untouchable. And your extra pawn over here became invalid. An invalid. So that's it. Bob went down in flames. Those pawns are handicapped. And he resigned. Thank you guys for joining me. I've got to take off. It's 4th of July. I'd like to again thank everybody for supporting the stream. Check out my eBay if you're interested in buying some stuff. And if you know anyone who's interested in buying random stuff, because I've got to clean out a house and I'm selling a lot of all different kind of items and stuff. So that's my second job. My first job is being a passive chess player and a professional chess coach. I will see you guys later. We'll be back. Let's see, tomorrow's Friday, but we're going to do the stream in the evening. So 5:30 p.m. tomorrow, Friday afternoon or evening, how you prefer, Eastern time. Blitz with everybody. I'll see you guys later. Again, thanks for the donations. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for supporting the stream. We'll keep it going 5 days a week over the summer, July and August. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, there's also a simul on Sunday. Take care, guys. Thanks for being subscribers. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Bye, guys. Take care.